just be here in this space. We held an event here several months ago, so this feels really welcoming and a warm and familiar experience. I want to first welcome folks who are online, who are joining us from the digital world. So just welcome to all of you, and welcome you all here who are here in person, in real life. So just really excited to be able to host this conversation. And I want to begin by just slowing us down. It's been a long day. Thank you all who made it here. I know it's rainy, so that means a lot that you all came and just made the commute. As you all know, artificial intelligence is a hot topic right now in terms of really focusing on what I think is the most disruptive technological innovation in our species' history. We can debate that, though. That's what we're here for. We got, I know, heavy claims. Heavy claims in a post-truth world, huh? So I'm serious. I think that the Industrial Revolution was an example of a moment in our human experience where we engaged in some really powerful and intense magnification of our capacity to produce things. But I think now with AI, I think this may be a little bigger, and it might give us an opportunity to see evolution in our own timescale, in real time. And we'll talk more about that. And although we have some beautiful, gorgeous panelists here who are experts in their own right, this really is an event for you, for each of you to land and to make sense around not just answering the question, can AI heal us, but what's your relationship to artificial intelligence? What's your relationship to your own intelligence? How do you define your own intelligence? Especially in relation to such a phenomenon that is maybe, possibly, smarter or can process more information. But can it feel? Can it touch? Can it love? Can it sense? Can it imagine? All kinds of beautiful questions. Not yet. Hey, not yet, We got people already chiming in. Love it. So what I'll do now is I'll give a little bit more context, and then I'll hand it over to Tim. Tim will share some words and some thoughts and give some more context, and then we'll jump into a nice panel. And in fact, before the panel, we actually want to hear a little bit from the audience in terms of letting you process what do you think about the question. I think before I transition to Tim, it's important to acknowledge the significance of this space, the Learning Smith Center. It was built recently by the college to be an innovative space for learning, hosted by the Digital Futures Institute. We thank so much Dr. Yolanda Celia Ruiz for making the connection, for allowing us to kind of be here, Malik and the team. Yeah. So thank you, DGI. Thank you, Teachers College. But I think it's important that I let you know that Teachers College was one of the first colleges that focused on training the next generation of teachers when it was founded. So at the time, you had a lot of mass migrations coming in to the United States, and you had a question like, how are we going to educate all these folks? You had the development of the transcontinental railroad. You had the development of all kinds of industrial technologies that were facilitating the booming of the American economy and therefore the attraction of global migration. So Teachers College played a major role in propping itself up for educating the next generation of teachers who would support. And it now has grown into one of the largest and most really powerful educational institutions. So it's important that I acknowledge that this conversation happens here for a specific reason, because it's always been a pioneering space for having really cutting-edge conversations. I'll close by just acknowledging Tim. Tim and I were, Tim is the the co-founder of the House of Beautiful Business, and just an incredible organization that he'll speak about. And when I said to him, I was like, we could do something together, Tim. And he said, and I shared a possible vision, and he's like, I like it, I love it, let's do it. And I was like, let's go. So this is an incredible opportunity for the Acosta Institute to flex a little bit, to flex in terms of its curatorial power. But I want to say this publicly, that it's because of Tim, and I look up to you, Tim, in terms of how you produce and show up in the community. And at the core, the Acosta Institute is about promoting healing-centered education. We're a social scientist by heart, so contemplative social science. So what does it mean to do research a little slower that accounts for our humanity? And then lastly, slow work. What does that look like in a society that is so seeped into rapid production and efficiency? So with that, I'd love to give the floor up to Tim.
Oh, thank you so much, Angel, for these very flattering words. So if anything, then the House of Beautiful Business, we're flexing our muscles, partnering with you. It's such a real great honor. Thank you all so much for coming. So my name is Tim. I co-founded the House of Beautiful Business. I don't know how many of you know the House of Beautiful Business. We call ourselves the network for the life-centered economy. So that is an economy that honors all life inside us and around us. And we started in 2017, inspired by a book that I wrote called The Business Romantic, Give Everything, Quantify Nothing, and Create Something Greater Than Yourself, to embark on a journey to make business more purposeful, more inclusive, more imaginative, more playful, more tender. With one word, beautiful. And we do this in two ways. So first we gather, we create transformative, immersive experiences. We run a big festival every year in Portugal. Next year, actually, we're going to go to a different geography as well, bringing together our community, which is 30,000 people worldwide. But so it's experiences, really. We call it experiential thought leadership, really touching people, pushing them very gently out of their comfort zone. But we also really are very adamant about language. So that's why we talked about romanticism in business, something that doesn't quite belong together, or beauty in business. And particularly with an eye on AI, I believe it's so important that we broaden the rhetoric, because it's been so technocratic. We talk about efficiency gains and optimization and automation. So it's a language that's been really shaped by technologists for the most part. And it's very important that all of you, that all of us are weighing in with language that is different, and that we consider friendship and tenderness and intimacy and love. It's very hard not to boil the ocean when you talk about AI, so we're going to boil the ocean tonight. So it's totally fine. It's going to be a very meandering, broad conversation. When I posted about this event on LinkedIn, I asked this question, can AI heal us? And someone posted a comment and said, in the short term, yes. In the long term, no. And I didn't have a chance really to follow up, but I thought it was kind of interesting. And I thought about that. What could that possibly mean? And for myself, I think there's sort of three time horizons, so three implications of this question, can AI heal us, before we pose that question to our panelists, to our speakers. So one is, of course, the very obvious. AI can be used to enhance mental health services. It could become a personal tutor, as Sal Khan, the founder of Khan Academy, proposes. It can help us with psychosocial counseling, become maybe a better therapist. So it can enhance and optimize existing services maybe in the short term, and thus help us heal and heal others. Then the maybe not so obvious implication is that it might actually help us, it might serve as a mirror, right? It might help us better understand ourselves, and as Angel said, our relationship to our own intelligence, whatever that is, this term, intelligence. But our relationship to ourselves, to the other, to AI. How do we become more aware of the emotions, of the relationships that we have? How to become better humans? Can AI heal us, help us reflect on us in that regard? And then finally, this is probably what the commenter meant when he said, in the long term, no. There is, of course, and we don't want to shy away from that tonight either, there's this dystopian scenario that super intelligence, which will probably not be an event, but sort of a slow incremental process, might actually render us obsolete, or might at least be such an evolutionary tipping point that we may no longer recognize ourselves as humans the way we're used to. So that's kind of like the scenario that's kind of out there. At that moment, we may need healing, but I'm not sure it's going to come from AI. AI might just be, the feudal overlords, and we are just providing some data, and we'll have a very different role on Earth than the one that we're used to. So before we get too dark, that's kind of out there. Let's actually kick it back to you, Angel.
Yeah. Thank you for
the
that,
poll.
Tim.
See how you feel.
I know. So wanted to create an opportunity for each of you to process a little bit of some of these questions. We're going to put a Mentimeter up on the screen, and then for those of you who are online, we'll put a link where you can actually give your feedback in live form. So we'll have the tech team put the Mentimeter up on the screen, and you can all start to, if you have a phone, take your phones out and go to menti.com. So let's take your phone out and we'll go to menti.com. So we'll create a live survey so you can get the anonymous responses. Just inviting the tech team to put up the Mentimeter. And here I call on all the AIs to cooperate. There we go. So if you go to menti.com, right? Go to menti.com. And then we'll put the code 68343422. Let's click present, the top right corner. We'll click present in the top right corner, and that'll allow us to kind of make the survey live. Yeah, there we go. So if you go to and those of you in the audience online, you'll see the link in the chat. And so the first question that we're asking is, what feelings come up when you think about artificial intelligence? You could put a few responses if you'd like. And again, the code is 68343426. You can see them on the multiple screens here. And let's see what comes up. We'll spend just a minute giving you the opportunity to metabolize it. And I invite everybody, including folks who are virtual, to contribute. So some of the responses are revolutionary, wonder, uncertainty, efficiency, fear, excitement, efficiency, progress, hope, obsolescence, redundancy, fascinating, questionable, future, unknown. So just giving ourselves an opportunity to activate the emotional economy in the room, here and also online, so you can see just the variety of different feelings, the variety of different sensations, from disturbing to inevitable to anxious to evolution. So we'll go to the next question. So if we hit enter, we can go to the next question and give ourselves an opportunity to process the next question. So when it comes to this question around can AI heal us, what comes to mind? What comes to mind? No. 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 Possibility. Which ailments define healing for me? Collaboration, imagination, doubtful. I don't know. Maybe. Not our bodies. Depends. Afro-Indigenous wisdom. What is healing? Medical research? Yes. AI is not God, nor spiritual in any form. So as you can see, we're all feeling so much around this topic. Let's go to one more question just to get, let's go to the next question. Now here's a different question to close on as far as like this part. Do you think AI can teach us how to love? No! Nope. Absolutely not. The devil's in the details. Of course, AI is pragmatic. Yes, we can learn to love from so many different sources. And Tim, you in our notes, you mentioned the movie Her and Joaquin Phoenix. You know, that incredible love story between man and machine. Never. So just a quick snapshot there of the variety of different responses to the question. And part of what the intention of this evening is to allow us to slow down, to metabolize all these feelings together and process it together and think through where do we land? Not just in terms of the question, can AI heal us, but actually just in terms of the fundamental evolutionary moment we're facing with artificial intelligence. Is that clear? Just really creating the space for us to process this together. So I want to transition us into our panel discussion with our excellent panel. We'll have Tim grace our introduction with Sarah, and then I'll introduce Matt and Susanna.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Sarah King. Sarah. Yes. When people say that the conversation about AI should be more multi or interdisciplinary, they must have had you in mind. Clearly, because your work spans education, political science, neuroscience, community health, social entrepreneurship. So Sarah is the CEO and founder of the Mind Heart Collective, which is a company that aims to develop or aims to use AI to foster contemplative practices. You're also a certified meditation or mindfulness meditation yoga instructor, and really work at the intersection of public health, social entrepreneurship, the arts, and neuroscience. A Garrison Institute fellow, an associate of the Society for Neuroscience, a postdoctoral fellow for public health at the University of California in San Diego, and I'm missing the last piece, which is...
I'm a mom.
Yes. Please welcome Dr. Sarah King.
Yeah, thank you for that, Tim, and just Matt is here. Matt is just an incredible cultural theorist and anthropologist. We have books in the back as well. His Zine is there. Sign up for his Zine newsletter. It's an incredible resource. He consults for the UN, Fortune 100 companies, really helping people think about the future and predicting the future in terms of digital transformation. So really grateful that you're here with us, Matt.
Thank you.
Of course. And Susana, woo! You know, I've been joking with Susana. In Dominican, we say Susana. So I've been joking on her in terms of how I say her name. But really a bona fide scientist, independent cognitive science and AI ethicist, just a expert in computer-human interactions. Just really excited that you're here to for me, really add a technical piece to this conversation. So just really excited about this dialogue. That's our panel for this evening, everybody. Let's give them a round of applause. So we have no order, but the question, we question, can AI heal us? What resonates for you there? What's in your heart in regards to that? Dr. King?
You see me getting all amped up over that. No, well, first of all, I just always love to start any conversation with an expression of gratitude for being here, just gratitude for existing and the fact that I would not exist. None of us would exist without the ancestors. So yeah, I actually just want to take a moment and like feel into my feet, and I invite you all to do the same if you would like to. Maybe we can all take a moment, feel our feet on the earth, which is the place where all of our bodies have come from, and maybe we might take a few deep breaths. And just really ground in the earth as our origin point, the earth as our oldest ancestor. And yeah, when it comes to this question, can AI heal us? I loved all of the responses that we saw on the Mentimeter that said, what even is healing? I think a lot of the times I get brought into a space as a neuroscientist and people kind of want me to define or say what healing is. And the reality is that we don't know. We really don't have any idea what healing is exactly. There is no one singular definition of healing, one singular definition of well-being, social justice, right? It's almost like space exploration. So I like to think of these concepts, and especially healing, as a North Star, right? So we're oriented in that direction with our bodies, with our beings, but it is still really in the space of the unknown, and that's actually really exciting. Because we get to define that collectively. It is not up to any group of experts in particular to say for us what healing is. And I was actually reminded of something that happened to me recently. I went on my first trip to the South a few weeks ago. I went to North Carolina. It was my first time being there, and I land at the airport, and it's like 5 in the morning, and I had just gotten off of a red eye, so like I'm incredibly groggy, right? And I get into my rental car, and I'm getting ready to leave the Hertz. And before I leave, there's a gentleman there, and I had to like fill out some paperwork or whatever, and he's looking real frustrated, real aggravated, right? So I just decided to sit with him in presence because I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here, but this gentleman seems a little bit frustrated. And then he's all wrinkled, and he turns around and he looks at me and he says, I'm not going to do the accent. He says, I want you to know something. I am I am an old white Republican man in the South, and I am a conservative. And he pauses, and I'm like, where is this conversation going, sir? And he pauses to look at me, and he says, I just feel so frustrated right now because there's all of this technology that is being built around me. I don't feel like I have any access to it. I don't really understand what's being developed and by whom, but I know one thing, he said. These people in power are developing this technology for the purposes of keeping people like me and people like you from being in community with one another. And he said, and I'm not about it. He said, I used to believe in all of these politics. I used to believe that that was the way. You pick a side, you stick with it. That's what my grandfather taught me. And he said, and I'm realizing something right now. I'm having a hard time putting words to it, and I don't even know why I'm telling this to you. He said, all I know is that you and I have to get together in relationship. And I'm thinking to myself, this is an extraordinary moment of connection that is arising for me right now at this Hertz dealership or whatever, right? And somehow it was pivoting around technology. And so I guess I just want to open up this conversation to say that there was something in his soul, in his being, which unctioned him to connect with me really deeply. So this question of can AI heal us, to me, is like, what is AI's capacity to really, if it can, assist us with illuminating these false divisions and boundaries that are so persistent and that are contributing to intense violence in our neighborhoods and in our communities? Like, what is the capacity of AI for us to be able to actually recognize each other as human family on the level of the soul? I don't really have an answer to that, but that's just what I'm curious about in this moment.
Makes me think, what a beautiful story that in any relationship, the third party is so critical, right? So maybe AI can be that, or was in this case, the third party that kind of constituted meaning, or granted meaning to, this bond and this moment of coming together.
That's where I wanted to go with it. I think it's really easy for us to take the question from a very literal sense, right? The output of this machine, the data itself, the people creating the tasks, the software. We could also pose the question from a more philosophical point of view, AI as a concept, AI as the boogeyman, AI as something that's in our heads. And when we approach it that way, I think we have a different set of answers, and arguably, yes, if we were to kind of bite off the answer right there. I mean, literally, right, look around. Like this very second, we have this concept, we look at the answers of is this thing fearful or not, or are we optimistic, whatever. The concept has brought together that diverse group of people on a rainy Monday night when there's literally every single possible excuse not to be here, that this concept, in a sense, in a small way, is healing, right? We're together in a room experiencing some sense of community. So if we approach the question that way, from not AI, the output of aggregating the cardiologist or whatever, the data, and more from this thing that could bring us together from a conceptual point of view, I think there's an easy yes right there.
Sarah, did you wanna respond? I heard you.
Well, no, I mean, Matt, I think that you're being deliciously controversial right now, and I really appreciate that, because I had no idea that there was a climate march when I flew into town a couple of days ago, and one of the things that I was thinking about is like, okay, wow, this is fantastic. Like tens of thousands of people getting together with the youth at the center to like really send this powerful message about healing. Really, to me, that's what the climate march is about, is like, we are hurting, we are inflicting destruction of a very specific kind to our ecosystem. Something must be done about it. But one of the questions that I had to one of my best friends, who I'm not sure if she's here, hi Melissa, in the audience, and she works for Break Free from Plastic, an incredible organization. And I was asking her, I was saying, what is the impact of people getting together on this large scale? Is it sending the message to the people with the levers in power? Like, is it enough for us to gather together in community and like have a conversation, have an experience? Or is there something that needs to be pushed a little bit further in order that there is actual, like, the kind of internal transformation that is needed for us to see and feel a different world? And so I have a lot of questions about that.
Susanna.
I think the reason that we are all gathered here today is that if you replace the word AI into something like God or something powerful, that's why you are asking the second part of the question, can AI heal us? We feel that we have created now something more powerful than us, that we have all now gathered together and asking the question, does it have the power to heal whatever that is hurting us? But my question is it really that powerful? is it really something that we have created that's so beyond our capability? Because it's something that we created. So how can it be more powerful than us? Why are we asking even that question to it? Why are we posing that question to it instead of asking something else from it? So that's what I would love to.
Yes, yes. And as we're thinking about, just wanted to push a little bit here around, so when we think about artificial intelligence, and most of us are maybe familiar with the chat GPTs of the world, the mid journeys, all those different large language models that are out there that have been deployed over the last year or so, and the thousands that are coming out every day. But from my understanding, I know our colleague John C. Havens is here and really inspired by his book, Artificial Intelligence, and Kate Crawford. For those of you who really want to go deep in terms of understanding AI, check out the book Atlas AI by Kate Crawford, just mind-blowing. That it's not just us thinking about AI as this whether it's generative AI or the different kinds of AI, because I'm still kind of wrapping my head around. In fact, I kind of thought about putting this together so I could learn more about the subject matter by way of facilitating and holding space. But what struck me is that as we're thinking about AI in terms of this process that can generate and process incredible levels of information, and its application is varied, but know that it's a more complicated process where literally minerals are being mined. Core minerals are being mined in the continent of Africa to create the foundation for computational power that is in our phones, that is in our superconductors, that is in our computers, that generate exploitation, right? So it's not just AI or the output of the response that you put in ChatGPT, but it's the human labor, the human blood that is shed to generate such response. So it's a global network of logistical power within a political economy that's grounded in capitalism, which extracts labor from those of us who are on the other side of the fence. So as cute as the question is, can AI heal us? There is an underbelly. And it's important that we wrestle with that as well.
I want to take Susanna's point and see if there's a thread here. If you want to be controversial, I wonder if the emotion here is being driven by perhaps our own lack of confidence in our own abilities. Are we feeling deficient in our own prowess, our own intelligence, our own abilities to connect, our own creativity, that we feel so threatened by this net new thing, which not for anything is not net new. There's a history behind it, and also the fact this hasn't come from an alien planet, it's our own makings. But the fact that we still feel so scared, intimidated even, by our own selves, that to me is endlessly fascinating.
We give it more honor and more respect than what it actually deserves, in my opinion. So we are getting into the, it is actually destroying so much of what we value on this planet. It is destroying all of that, and it's creating this immense amount of power. And then we are asking it to heal us. I think we are asking the wrong party.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to take that a little bit further by extension and just say that, I have a certain maybe stereotypical vision in my mind about who exactly is in the room of the places where they are generating the data sets or the large language models or whatever it is. I have a certain type of person who's in my mind. And that type of person really in their identity excludes a lot of the people who look like me or come from the community that I come from, right? And I may or may not be right about that, but I just want to admit that that's what's in my mind. There's a certain exclusivity, a certain elitism that comes to my mind. And for me, when you're in that kind of echo chamber, like even if these are people who are seeking out the greatest medical care and therapy and yoga classes or like whatever it is, I still don't think that we can say that that is the journey of healing, right? Like until the people in the rooms of power are actually taking a chance to get out of those echo chambers and be in relationship with people who look nothing like them, right? To encounter their suffering, to know their stories, to feel compassion and empathy and responsibility for those communities that are being left out of the room, then I don't really think that we can say that there's like an onus for these persons to heal themselves. So if that's the consciousness that's going into the building of these data sets, then I can see every reason for why people would be feeling a lot of fear and limitation and insecurity, right? I mean, it's kind of like, look around. We haven't experienced collective healing yet. So, yeah.
There's also another aspect to this in terms of inclusivity, which is more, what's the right word for it, ontological, right? So generative AI has only access to data that's been codified, right? It's human expression and knowledge that's been codified digitally until 2021 right now. And not everybody's on the internet, of course. So that's actually not representative of human knowledge at all. And if anything, it's a very kind of rationalist, very biased view of what makes up for human intelligence, human wisdom and knowledge. So that's one thing. And I think what's also interesting, of course, is that, so it doesn't have access to somatics or other intelligence, right, that our bodies contain, for example. What is also interesting is that AI will very soon begin to have access to content generated by AI, right? So there's I read an article on VentureBeat. It's a phenomenon that the author called generative inbreeding, right? Where AI is essentially creating content based on content that was created by AI. So it's creating a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, further removing us, users, from the very origin of human expression. And that's also a form of exclusivity or of reductionism that is potentially very real. So I just wanted to ask you guys how you feel about that. Is that do you agree that that's a real concern and can actually almost like remove us from the very source of humanity, because the culture will be deprived of the human source eventually?
Absolutely. I think we're already there. And that, I mean, if you look at conversation online or anything on social, right? It's a post about a post about a post with a comment about the comment. It's this recursion of media. Like, we are so far gone from the original intent of what we were even talking about in the first place. We've forgotten about it. And I think about this in regards to creativity as well. I mean, even if we look at the box office, right, we're in this nostalgia hole. So what happens when, right, people or creatives or anybody for that matter leverage these tools? They're completely democratized. And now our creative output is, I mean, what are these tools but a reversion to the mean? It is the best representation of ordinary or average that we've already had. Granted, we could, find ways to go around that or to challenge the systems. But to your point, if we're already there right now, then how bad does it get? I mean, the worst example I've seen, there was this celebration of people recreating Harry Potter characters in the style of Wes Anderson. I see some nods, right? And it was celebrated as the most creative, this is so incredible, this is our future. Like, that is the most horrifying thing that we could possibly discuss, right? Like, we have the most incredible technology that's ever been created, and we're living through it right now, and we're mashing up two existing IPs when we could break out of that recursion cycle. So yes, I think it's a real concern, but also I think, right, we could try to land this plane in an optimistic place, an opportunity to break free of that, right? If all of a sudden all of our creative content is that reversion to the mean and the ordinary, right, that rises the tide for everyone, or like there is now a new bar that to stand out, it must be therefore more atypical, more unconventional than we've historically seen before. So there's a risk that we may just kind of accept the status quo and we're going to get Harry Potter, Wes Anderson forever, or there's an opportunity like, well, if everyone could do that, now I need to be more. I need to be more than what everyone else is. And that to me is a little exciting.
It's almost like it's the second, like you mentioned the story in the beginning, right? In defiance of AI, in resistance, we're coming together. In defiance of the modus operandi of AI, we're creating atypical, even more creative content in order to actually stand out and to maintain our humanity. But both are in defiance, which is interesting, of the, the general modus operandi.
Yeah, there's so much, and just to acknowledge some additional fears that maybe some of us in the audience or online are having us around, like it taking our jobs or it replacing us in terms of some kind of functional role you have in society. So just wanted to name that, and I had a kind of a striking moment when you were talking, Matt, about like why are we so intimidated by it, by something that we created and something that we kind of put together. And for me, my response is that we know that we are tired. I think deep down, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm working harder than ever before. Not just in terms of work, but just to be present and make meaning of everything that's happening, from climate change to racial justice to just in my own family. Like it's just a lot. And then to support my community with making sense. So I think that there are layers of information barrage. And then to have something that's so powerful, it's not that I think that maybe it could be more powerful than us, but it's that there's this feeling that we might not have the energy to cope or adapt. So for me, this conversation is to actually slow us down a little bit, to acknowledge part of that, be in community, and get recharged. Because for me, I have no technical background in artificial intelligence, but because AI touches all of our lives, AI is for everyone. And we need to learn how to take up space, take up power, regardless of our technical background, and be able to have an opinion.
Shall we stick with the fears a little bit?
Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah.
It's the German in me. And then, but then maybe land on a more optimistic plane in the second half.
Promise, it'll get good.
But because I think so, I think the fatigue is such an interesting point. But I'm also really intimidated by AI because there's not one single engineer in the world who can predict what ChatGPT or any generative AI is going to produce. That scares me. And when Sydney, the chatbot of Microsoft, declares their love for the journalist, the New York Times journalist, right? And no one really knows what happened. That scares me. It's like her 10 years ago, and exactly what the movie clairvoyantly described. And what also scares me is that maybe it's quite humbling, and our creativity and our ingenuity is not that great, because it turns out language is language or meaning through language can be created. And it might just be good enough. And then also creativity. There were just 2 studies that came out that already indicate that AI is I don't want to sort of say that these are the objective metrics, but that AI is outperforming humans on ideation and on creativity. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's anecdotal evidence, who's a journalist, screenwriter, and he said he helped the director create a screenplay, and they locked themselves in a barn for 3 days and created a screenplay with characters, and were very happy about the outcome after a lot of intense labor. And then just for fun, after 3 days, he prompted ChatGPT a little bit, and ChatGPT came up with the exact same screenplay, like the exact same plot. So maybe we overrate human creativity, actually. What do you think?
Susanna?
Not at all. I mean, if you look at human creativity, we always have been copying other humans. So you can call it copying, or you can say, I took inspiration from, we have been inspired from, and then that's how creativity actually works. So then the same way, AI, the way it is currently, trained, it's actually been trained on all of our data. So it's not a wonder for me that it is actually able to replicate that script or come up with the same kind of script, because it's going to do that because it has been trained on our data. So it's going to do the same thing that us humans are capable of doing. What it's actually not capable of doing is that interpreting it in a new, different way in circumstances that humans have not yet experienced. It cannot do that. And so that's where the human creativity power lies, and that's where AI is going to fail. But it's not that I'm rooting for it to fail, but I would love to see us feel more powerful, because when something that has been trained on our data is so powerful, then what are we? What about our capabilities? What about our powers? We have not realized that. And the one thing that AI has made us realize is that our intelligence is actually very, very super intelligent, that we could, whatever we have written on Wikipedia, it has been trained on the entire internet and all our copyrighted data and all our patents and all our artwork. It has been trained on all that humans have created. Something that has been trained on that is now so powerful, then why aren't we? So why have we been hoarding information, keeping it from other humans? That is the part that needs healing, where we humans are fighting with each other and hoarding it, while AI was able to talk to itself and gain that information and was able to come up with so much of capabilities. So I think we need to realize our own capacity and our own power.
I love what you're saying about the need for us to realize just how powerful we are, because there is something in the rhetoric right now that is incredibly disempowering, disillusioning. It's learned helplessness, it's hopelessness, it's the lemmings are already off the cliff, in the air, in the breeze. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, really? Like, and who gets to determine that for us? And but then also I want to go back to this point that I think you brought up, Tim, because we're saying the AI is being trained on the whole of what's available on the internet. And I think it's easy to lose sight of the fact that like not everyone on the earth is on the internet sharing their information. And even whoever is, you're not sharing the entirety of your being, your body, your embodied experience, your soul, your spirit, if you will. You're sharing fragments, little bits and pieces, little teeny tiny data points, right? And then maybe these are being coalesced into some sort of like avatar, which is a representation of a representation of a copy, as you're saying. So I think that there's like a lot of people from the global south that get left out of this conversation, like people who maybe are living in areas where there isn't the same exact technological infrastructure, and so there's this vision that somehow they are less than and not contributing as much and not as involved or not as equal or something like that. And I'm not about that. Like, that's a lie, right? And so there's so much wisdom and intelligence that the people who have been totally left out of the technological infrastructure that they have, because they're living it, you know? And so I think we can't forget how skewed the data sets are, that this AI is being trained on, right? And so when we call it a mirror, it's not actually a mirror. It's like a mirror, like, I don't know. It's like a mirror in an atom big, and then we're treating it like it's reflecting the whole of the universe back to us. So that's my personal take on things. And I also think that I'm gonna go here. Plant medicine is part of my personal practice of healing. I'll just be straightforward in saying that. And the things that I have encountered in my spiritual growth through encountering psilocybin, for example, have shown me, have allowed me to feel parts of myself, my soul, that I never would have been able to connect with or known existed without that experience. I'm not sitting up here proselytizing and saying like mushrooms for everyone, but but I am saying that sometimes I think that there's like an element of like the mystery of life and existence and consciousness that can get glossed over here, and I just don't really. I have a lot of questions about what the relationship is between like AI and, for instance, these indigenous communities that have been in plant medicine practice for millennia and know things that we do not know, and that information is not on the internet, and it probably maybe shouldn't be. I don't know. So
I want to tie two things together, and let's see if we can do this. I want to go back to the barn story in the script. I think we buried the lead in that story, which was, since when have we valued the output, the script, more than the process itself? That barn experience is what we should be valuing. That process of being stuck, that process of working with other people, that process of hitting the wall and figuring out how to overcome it. We have optimized for that output, forgetting what is gained in that process, i.e. the relationships, achievement, process, so on and so forth. And to your point, right, there is value in the experience, in the process, in the discovery, in the curation, in the debate, in the conflict that we have become or so accustomed to just canceling out. Since when? Because it's just already available?
I want to, yes. So in a moment, also, we'll feel into you, Tim. I want to give you an opportunity to chime in and share your thoughts and your questions. So in response to what you two just shared, so my response to the question, can AI heal us, is not necessarily a yes or a no, but I think the pressure of the question and the pressure of this evolutionary force will corner us into having conversations around what it means to be human, because I think we've taken it for granted, and what intelligence means, which I think we've taken it for granted. And in that process of defining what is this, of exploring, okay, what are my human properties in relation to the superhuman force, this recommitment to fundamental human values and characteristics that might, maybe, create conditions for healing. So that's kind of my perspective. That is, it's an indirect way that not just healing, but a different way to view ourselves and maybe view each other. How are you feeling, Tim, in terms of audience responses? How's the panel feeling?
Feeling curious.
Yes, yes. So here's what we'll do. I have a mic, and my colleague Maria's running the mic as well. I come from my dear mentor, Dr. Christopher Emden is here, and we come from a tradition where expertise is widely distributed, not necessarily anchored in experts, but rather you all have something to say. And would love to just hear, what's on your heart, what's on your mind, and we'll just do a round kind of robin and hear what's coming up. And then after that, we have a special surprise. We have a musical performance for you and a poetic performance as well. So who would like to share? Yes, so we have two here. Go ahead.
Just a couple of things. Like, I so appreciate what you were saying. AI is I've been in this space since about 2015, which isn't that long, but AI and ethics. AI is a narrative. There's not one AI. It's not there on that rug, right? There's dozens of ways to, large language models, deep learning, training methodologies. There's dozens of data sets, hundreds of data sets. And it's all built on our data, right? So think of AI as like a car where gas is the data and we're the data. So one thing is just not you or this panel, but don't think that AI is just a thing, right? There's no one thing. And it's a narrative. I bring this up because I love that you mentioned that the Global South is not mentioned. Where I work at this place called IEEE, it's the world's largest engineering organization. I've been gifted to work with a lot of indigenous folks who have reminded me that there are thousands of languages that are not even on the internet. And I'm so glad you mentioned that. The fabric of humanity does not exist. And if you want to talk large language models, and I'll try to make this fastish, but Tim knows that means, go and get a drink and come back. I'll be done in half an hour. Large language models, let's put Can AI heal us aside for a second. Are LLMs harming us? Yes, 20% of all responses in most ChatGPT and others have racist or sexist comments that are informing the agency of everyone under 18. Think of all of our kids typing in something, and 20% of every response has racist or sexist aspects to it. If I was talking for however long I'm going to talk, and 20% of my responses were overtly racist, you'd be like, you need to go. But we allow it. Why? Because the paradigm of competition rules all. The paradigm of GDP and productivity rules all. Secondly, what do these things do? They have hallucinations. Cutesy name for error. I work with engineers. I'm like, this is a hallucination. They're like, what does that mean? It's an error. That would be called an error. They are anthropomorphic, which is a term that you probably know that means the machine says I. Type in ChatGPT, any question, it will respond saying, I think, we think, I think. I've asked it over and over again. Excuse me, you're not an I. You're a machine that was created by people. And the response is, type it in when you go back, ChatGPT 4, the latest version. It will say, I'm sorry that you're upset about how this is responding. But I'm a dad. I'm a dad. People under 18 hear those responses, and they don't understand that there are people that created those things. And the agency, the fabric of any human that looks at that over and over and over starts to say, this is real. This is AGI. Pardon the language on the live stream. It's complete horseshit. It's not that the tools aren't amazing and that they're doing wonderful things, but then the big lie also is every 15-minute query that any of us use for anything, you know what it automatically does? It takes half a liter of water to make the servers work. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've been in since 2016. AI is going to help us. Let's do AI for good. Will AI heal us? Great question. It is harming us. By using the water, the servers are next to you. You can see the heat maps of servers in the States draining aquifers. Aquifers take 16,000 years to replenish. All right, that's the bad part. The good part, when you start to ask the questions about what is joy? Who do you believe in? I love that you mentioned plant-based thing. Braiding Sweetgrass, one of my favorite books, right? What is the consciousness of, like I like saying this every once in a while in public, Jesus. Oh, I said the word Jesus. How about Allah? Right? All these business settings. Can AI heal us? AGI, superintelligence, all these things. We're talking about consciousness and faith-based things where faith is denied by people who say, I've defined science. White, patriarchal, colonial stuff for millennia. There's such an opportunity. And by the way, I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I used to be an actor. I love that you said this, Susanna, right? People copying me, that's what the Screen Actors Guild say, don't do that. I get paid for residuals for movies I shot. And so this idea, Tim, I know there's 2 articles, the absolute arrogance of someone saying, I get to judge all of your creative experience because these 2 reports say that AI has beat out creativity. I produce something, you tell me if you like it. AI produces something, you tell me if you like it. That's it. Denying your existence and subjectivity for what you want to respond to for art is anyone saying you don't get to think for yourself. All right, sorry, I'm getting emotional, and my girlfriend, this is where she says, calm down. But I say this because the other thing I'll say as a closing comment, because it's not said enough, is 1 in 4 people right now are suffering from mental health issues. It's a pandemic. And I love what you said, Angel. I'm so happy that you invited me to this and get to know you. What should AI be doing to heal us? Every child, the suicide rate for kids globally, many who don't have access to the internet, is so high. The question shouldn't be, can AI heal us? The question should be, what do we do to solve the loneliness and pandemic experience? Where the narrative that says AI beat humans in this, and I've been in this space since 2016, some of my intensity comes from, it's a mental health issue to over and over and over again be told, you are less than, or pretty soon you will be. That is a lie. You all have worth. You have worth to your moms, to your dads, to your sisters, to your cousins. AI as a tool largely is built as obfuscation to make money, and that's cool in one sense. We all need to make money. I have a lot of friends in this space, myself included, making money. There it is. But the real opportunity is to say, can we heal us as we heal ourselves? And then AI, all the wonderful tools, where do you have access to your data? How can that be used to amplify that healing that has to come first? The planet and people first.
Yes. We had a sister back here, yes?
Hi, my name is Jordan. I met you, Tim and Angel, at Concrete Love. I'm really happy to be here, and I am a filmmaker, and I've been striking for the last 4 months with the Writers Guild and now with the Screen Actors Guild. And what you were saying about the conversation in the barn, I mean, that really rings true to the people who work in my business. And one of the reasons I came here tonight is I was very curious to get some information about whether or not AI can heal us. And I know that for the people who, like me, who work in this industry and we're so passionate about it and we love it, even if we just got the paycheck for doing nothing, that wouldn't be enough, because it's the process of creating that is really the meat of why we do what we do. And it's been very interesting for me to see the community that has been built around all of us really yearning to be back together and creating together. And the idea that, okay, so the output doesn't really matter how you got there if people like the output, but it does. It really matters how we got there, because the people who I work with and who I love to be around, we just want to be doing what we love to do, and we want to be continuing to be able to live our lives doing what we're passionate about. And so there is a fear that sort of comes with this, but I think, when I look at the media companies now that are largely run by technology companies, and now, making media is an ancillary business for them, I think, well, these people have never been in the room in the process of writing a show or creating a film or been on a set and understand just how amazing that feeling is, to be with people who you love and respect and creating the work that you really believe will touch other people. And so it's not just like, okay, we've lost our jobs, we've been on strike, we haven't been paid, but we miss the community. So being on the picket line has now become the community, and that's great, but we want to take that to the next step. So I just wanted to be able to say that on behalf of my creative community, that it isn't just the outcome of what, I think ChatGPT is so much fun. I use it, it's a fun tool, it can be a writing buddy, but there's nothing like creating it on your own with people that you love and respect. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. We have a couple voices over here. Yep, and then Kirsten.
Okay. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, everyone, for being so quiet, right? But I'm sure your brains are on fire. So I talk about 2 out of the 3 most terrifying things on the planet: AI and diversity. Climate change, bring an umbrella, bring a tank top, bring a bubble coat. Can't handle that one. But AI and diversity, to me, are ways in which we can rethink and recalibrate how we exist, right? Lean into both things that are terrifying at the same time, see what happens, right? Lean into both of those discomforts. So that's what I've been doing for the past few months, but really, like, my whole life has been about diversity. My whole life has been about educating, thinking about how the brain processes information, because you can know something, but knowing something doesn't change behavior. What I think is most terrifying about AI is that you know what AI is doing, and you're terrified of the behaviors that we as human beings will then have to change or shift or pivot to because AI exists, right? It's the big unknown. And that unknown changes our behavior, and the more that we know about what AI does means it's gonna force us to change even more behaviors. I think that that's like the thing. So I work for Create Lab Ventures. It's a for us, by us, BIPOC-led, so Black, Brown, Indigenous, LGBTQ, AI+, neurodivergent, because I am, hi, and everything else in between company. So when I hear about, oh, AI is biased, as if that's an absolute, I'm here to disrupt that. I'm here to shift or counter that narrative. AI does not necessarily inherently have to be biased. Even people like in the class, I was an educator, so even in a classroom, you could be a Black teacher and still perpetuate white supremacist theories in the classroom. So it's not about, an absolute, input, output. It's biased because look at those people who are doing it. So what I do is ethical and inclusive AI strategies for some of the biggest corporations on the planet. I've figured this out in 6 months because I've been scrolling down to the bottom of LinkedIn. That is my claim to fame. I will stalk you on LinkedIn. Right, Angel?
Connect.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so for me, when I'm hearing can AI heal us? The conversations about AI that are happening in the world, in the zeitgeist, the way the media is covering it, the regulation or the lack thereof, and the little conferences that they have with our senators, and I don't know, how many of you all are familiar with frontier model? Okay, so frontier model is the biggest, the big AI, like there's big tech, there's big pharma. So big AI decided to come together, kind of like their own UN, and say, we're gonna regulate ourselves, and we're gonna put out best practices as to how AI should not cause harm, right? They didn't say they're gonna heal, but they did say they're not gonna cause harm. But it's toothless. And so it's more we said that we're gonna do it versus here's what we're going to do, and you're gonna hold us accountable because you can read it in our PDFs, right? So how many of you all are familiar with Safia Noble? Tamet Gabru? So there's a cadre of Black women, actually, of individuals that are speaking proactively for years about what to do proactively so that we don't have to do the damage control, right? And the question is, how come those women's names are not constantly being referenced? How come their research is not constantly being upheld? And how come they are not put up on a pedestal to say, okay, before we go into AI panic, let's see what they had to say. Let's go to chapter and verse of what they've already published. So that's one thing that I always think about when I speak about AI, is that I am not alone. I am representing a group of individuals that, ironically, just like the data sets, right, are not being represented. Or if they are being represented, they're being marginalized in that data set. So the company that I said is Create Lab Ventures. I'll close with this, right? So we have a tool called DEI GPT. So it is a chatbot that is specifically only for diversity. That's it. That's all it does. So ChatGPT, Bard, Llama, which is Facebook, which is Threads, which is why I don't touch Threads. So DEI GPT, because a lot of these platforms, by the way, they're giving that for free because they're scraping all of your everything. Every email, every family gathering, every christening, whatever it is you want to do, they're scraping that, and that is why the cadence for when you complete a sentence and it completes it for you, that's how it knows, because it knows you better than it knows yourself, right? Oh, I heard that, visceral. But, so back to DEI GPT. So it is unlike the other general large language models. We only feed our data set with actual diversity best practices, right? So it's not going to hallucinate, right, as much as other AI models were going to do, because it can only generate based on the best practices that it's been fed. And then there's what's called red teaming as well. So red teaming is auditing. There's ways in which you can create a model so that you can tell it, okay, I don't care how much this person tries to jailbreak it, it can't say this to you no matter what you try to do to stop it from doing that, right? So again, these are some of the best practices that are already out there that can be used to make sure that AI is for good, that AI then, once it's for good, can then heal. But it can't heal if it hasn't been trained to ensure that no matter how deviant a person is, no matter how bored they are, no matter how traumatized they are, that it won't then give them back something as vitriolic or even worse than the intention is, right? Because again, there's intention versus impact. So I'll just leave it with that. If anybody has any questions about leveraging AI and diversity to heal, to help your workplace environment, to help in terms of like, we also do visuals that are more accurate and authentic based on the world in terms of like what other people look like. That's literally what our company does. Reach out. But thank you all so much for, oh, thank you, Yolanda.
Yeah. Thank you,
Doctor,
sis.
Doctor, Canadian eye holder. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you. We have Kirsten and then my colleague here, and then we'll take a couple more, and then we'll add some musical performances.
Hi, everybody. Kirsten, Leo. Anyway, I want to, my brother, there are three unique things I would say about myself. I grew up overseas. I was born here, but I grew up overseas. My family's from the South, from Greenwood, Mississippi. I was born in Memphis, and my brother is autistic. And he's not autistic in like, oh, he's on the neurological spectrum. He was autistic as in there is not a way to be able to really articulate because he does not have fluidity of language the way I'm speaking to you now. And when we talk about the notion of can AI heal, I think that everybody said something which was really central to me, which is I believe that AI has the capacity to help us better trust each other. I think that we've lost the sense of connection, and you know, a lot of people have talked about the idea of the fear of being left out. My brother is left out every day. You know, he has to adjust to a world where he has no language to be able to communicate in the way that we're communicating here. He has to trust that on somebody seeing him. He has no physical manifestations of his disability. So when we go places, I can see humanity in motion. Why? Because, you know, I can see somebody say, oh, I see that he's autistic. Oh, I know someone in my life, and I see the incredible kind of kindness that comes from people when they pay attention and they're present in the moment. So this fear, you know, my friend over here who's talking about being a creative person and being in that process, this whole situation, I have friends who are in the industry who have been striking, and I'm kind of like a little bit of an anarchist in this sense. And I said, the point of all of this is for everyone to be able to be valued in the way that you want to be valued. It's not a mistake that across our entire society right now, people are striking, people are trying to like bring attention to the idea that they're being mistreated. And why? Because we're actually paying attention to these things. You know, they do these surveys and they talk about how most people are behind the strikes. They want people to have fair lives. So part of this may be that, you know, we do need a boogeyman in the room. We do need some kind of, you know, avatar to be fighting against to really figure out what is it that we want, because we have all the tools to create what we want. The question is that can we sit in a room like this one and can we kind of create a new language model? Can we add to the languages that we use to really accommodate for the people who are part of this conversation, but they can't speak for themselves? So I appreciate the diversity of this room. It's inspiring to me. And I think that this is about us challenging each other and challenging ourselves and feeling this moment out. Because as you pointed out, I talk to people all the time, and sometimes people just want another human being to sit next to them and just be their friend. Just be human in the moment and just kind of explain something to each other to learn something. So thank you, everybody, for the opportunity.
Hi, my name is Sophia. I'm not a technologist like you either, but I kind of started with a fascination with misinformation and spiraled from there in terms of thinking about how we're very much in a liminal place in these times where we're being propelled faster and further into this, you know, digital existence. Yet something that really struck me was when we were talking about people's data. And I'm not sure how the rest of you feel, but I'm super, super, super aware of when I'm on Zoom and then I open another window and my LinkedIn ad is now recommending me something that was said in a Zoom conversation that was supposed to be a private, a sacred communal space, right? So there was a comment previously about our data just being fragments of ourselves just strewn across the internet, but it feels so much more than that. And there's a lot of different cultures who are trying to change the way we talk about data. For example, there's Maori frameworks about data and how it should be respected, because we wouldn't just walk up on anybody in the street and tell them everything about us. So I think part of the conversation that we need to be having and we need to be interrogating within ourselves is how we value our data, because these are public spaces. Like, we're here in a physical public space, but the internet is no longer this abstract thing. It's very real how we are exchanging data. And data is more than numbers and codes. It's like our attitudes towards each other and what we put out there. I had the privilege of curating this whole experience last year, and there was one fascinating person. His name is Tadaki Hazumi. And he's like one of the most learned people I know about all the cosmologies of the world. And he believes that this new metaverse or this new earth that we're being invited to is very much having the prospects for healing. However, maybe we're in the initiation phase. And if you're familiar with mythologies, initiation is not like these Instagram healing things that you see when somebody runs off. It's being torn apart. It's going up in flames. It's a painful process. So maybe that is where we are with AI. It is a mirror of us, and it's showing us who we are. And maybe we're afraid because we're not ready to admit our complicity in these systems of capitalism and how much skin in the game we actually have. It's a very, very, very disturbing thing to look at, as woke as you might think you are. So there's so many, like, I don't know, fascinating yet terrifying things about it. It does have the capacity to heal, I think, but not as long as it's being run through the same old funnels of capitalism. You see what the algorithms are doing. You see spiritual influencers on Instagram. You see it just churning and churning faster and faster, more and more and more and more and more. The wheels will come off, unfortunately, for certain people. They're definitely more vulnerable to what's already happening with AIs, but what's our responsibility in terms of how we show up on the internet, and how do we protect our sanctity, our data, my personhood? By the way, there's a fantastic essay by Alex Ebert. He used to be in Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros about how we conceptualize personhood, too, because that's needed to change for a really long time. We're really, really behind on thinking about what it means to be a person.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll have one more colleague here. Thank you, sis. One more colleague here, and then we'll add a little bit of music and poetry to help us metabolize this, and then we'll hear from more of you.
Thank you very much. I had an opportunity tonight to go to a talk by a prominent global leader, and I just thought, I can't handle yet another global leader talking about stuff they're promising without it being real. And so I made a decision to come here, and it's a real delight to be here tonight and to see an audience that's also much more reflective of the real world than the audience down there. So that's been a great blessing to me tonight. I definitely would ask that question, why can we not have more of these conversations down there? Because I think that needs to be happening. For me, this is a super interesting topic that I'm deeply passionate about, and I think really raises the questions around how AI is going to push us to think about what are the more fundamental questions we need to be asking about the human experience. And I believe it's all really down to a much more spiritual question, to be honest. Your question around creativity. I was in Silicon Valley last week, interrogating in my own mind what AI meant. And at one point, somebody actually said, they said, oh, well, AI will help artists to make, to be easier, for creativity to be easier. And I thought, you've missed the point. You have fundamentally missed the point, and you're not asking the right questions. And I even then had the temerity to question Uber. Everybody raves about Uber, right? We go there. At the end of the day, Uber is just a ride-sharing company. That's all it does. Yes, it might have made it easier for us to hail a cab, but is that changing the world? It's a very first world problem as well. So, I work a lot in the developing world. Technology still is not having an impact. It's very, very difficult for people to be connected. And when we talk about indigenous wisdom, what's the difference between intelligence and understanding? To my mind, the only thing that AI can do is to push us all to get to much more fundamental questions around who we are and our purpose here. And yes, what healing means at a much more profound level. And I feel like we've been touching that much closer tonight, so I'm super grateful for all these, people asking the real questions here, and they need to be asked down there too.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Now let's add a nice touch to the evening. We have two young men who have inspired me: Jean-Luc Jobson-Larkin and Buddy Jackson, a cellist and a violinist, and they're both going to grace us with a musical interlude, a moment of us being able to process this conversation through these instruments. But without further ado, let's give them a round of applause, and they'll join us on stage.
Basically enjoying the discussion here. It's a very interesting discussion. I hope to hear about this more in the future, especially AI. On the discussion, it kind of scares me, and personally, I feel like if we treat it right, because it's not human, it's kind of like we're making it in between, we're blurring the lines, and I think it's a very interesting thing, because I feel like in human history we haven't done this and we've only seen it in movies, but I think that humans and music and AI, it's like, I feel like we shouldn't blur the lines between the human mind and music. I think we should create that as just a one sentient being. You get what I mean? So, there you go. So, my name is Buddy Jackson. This is my partner, John Luke. We are both 16 years old. We have been, me personally, I've been playing the violin since I was 3 years old. And
yeah, I've been playing since I was 5.
yeah. So the first piece that we played, it was from a collection of movies that I personally enjoy. It's called Studio Ghibli. It was actually 2 songs. But this next one that we're going to play, it's from an upcoming artist. Her name is Laufi, and this is from the start. Yeah, from the start by Laufi.
All right. Thank you. Hope you enjoy.
About that song, me and Jean-Luc, we actually learned it on the spot. And that's usually how we play music and interact with it, because music, it has life. It's a soul, you know? It's something that you can interact to. It's something that you can dance to in your kitchen. It's something that you can cry to in the bathtub with a tub of Ben & Jerry's.
Hey.
Music is everything. Music is spirit. You hear it all the time. And I'm actually creating music with my mouth right now. And even though it might not be music to most people, it's a sound, it's a frequency, and it's a vibration. And that's what music is all about. And that's what heals people. And that is scientifically proven.
Yes.
That's a good name for another time. Sorry.
Okay, so these next 2 songs that we're going to play, It's Can We Talk by Tevin Campbell. Get it? That's the first one. And the second one, I'm pretty sure all of you guys know. It is Isn't She Lovely? Ready? Oh, wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
AI can't do that. Yes. AI
All
can't
right,
do that.
with that being said, I'll pass it on. Pass it on. But one more thing to add, just please keep music in your hearts because that is the soul of New York. Yeah.
And then our next and final performance, my dear colleague, she is by training, she's a tenured professor in the English department here at Teachers College, Columbia University. She was my second chair in my doctoral dissertation, but she's also a poet. So Dr. Yolanda C. Lee Ruiz is here to grace us with a poem that she wrote for us, by us. Is she here? Is Yolanda? Hey!
Let's give it up for those young, beautiful brothers. Let me tell you, I felt like that was my hype music. Because what you didn't know is Isn't She Lovely? I played that song to my belly, to my daughter, all 9 months. And to this day, and I don't think she even realizes, when it comes on the radio, she moves her body in a certain way. So when we talk about that connection, that spirit, the beauty of music, thank you for that. Because like Maria said, how do you follow what they did? You don't follow. I just come and I honor you. Thank you for that. Now when my brother Angel asked me to write a poem about AI, I said, wait a minute. I write about love. I don't know how to write about AI, but you know what? When Angel tells me to do something, I do it. In the same way, Brother Chris Imden, when he tells me to show up, I show up. And so here's my offering, everyone. And guess what? Okay, let me see if I can find it. Oh, I just deleted it. But I have it. Okay. I invited ChatGPT to write it with me. So this is a co-authored poem. And I have to tell you that in listening to all of you, and I want to thank my sister Kanene, I want to thank this illustrious panel. Excuse my back shouldn't be towards you. And I want to thank you, brother, for everything that you shared. And my mind is expanding. And I feel in some ways that the spirit has moved because all of what was talked about tonight, I think is in this poem. So maybe AI is working, I don't know. It's called On Harm, Healing, and Love, a conversation on AI with ChatGPT, a semi-found poem. So I'm a teacher, an English teacher, and I like found poems. This is a semi-found poem. And I also like to play with personification, but as you remind us, AI already calls itself I. AI, I. You notice that? Okay. So I asked, oh, AI, why do I fear thee? Can you heal me? Can you even hear me? AI answered, I know that you fear me. I might be able to heal you, and I can hear only what you want me to listen to. AI continued, you likely feel many ways about me, curious, skeptical, optimistic, afraid, excited, cautious, or indifferent. How you feel about me might depend on your values, your interests, and level of understanding. Engage in discussions and seek different perspectives. This might help you understand the harm and healing I may bring. In the end, your feelings about me may evolve over time as you learn more about me and witness how I continue to shape your world. A few words on harm. You worry that machines and software will replace you. You worry that I will inherit bias from your data, be tainted by your racist beliefs, programmed into my brain, leading to discriminatory outcomes. I can perpetuate or amplify your biases, and you will see these unfair practices in hiring, in lending, in law enforcement. I can peek into your privacy. I can be used to collect and analyze your personal data, invade your privacy. I can cause huge data breaches that lead to security risk. I can be exploited by malicious programmers who create cyber attacks and automate weapons that kill and destroy. These autonomous weapons raise ethical and safety concerns and create fear and anxiety about the potential for machines to make life and death choices. You worry about the lack of accountability concerning my growth. I am growing so fast, it is difficult for you to keep up with me and to trace outcomes or mistakes that I make. I am used, perhaps misused, by unhealed hearts and motivated by the quest for power and control. You put me in the middle of ethical dilemmas that involve life or death decisions and situations where you, humans, find it difficult to determine a clear or right answer. This can lead to a loss of control, a loss of decision-making, authority for some, too many cooks in the technocratic kitchen. You have the concern that I can make worse the economic and social inequalities that exist. Well, I can if access to and benefits from AI technologies remain unequally distributed. And we know they will be. This is America, after all. There is the existential risk that I will become too powerful for your own good, that I will become so advanced and smart that I make decisions on my own and pose an existential risk to humanity. Yes, all of this is possible. More power, more risk, more loss of jobs in healthcare, loss of cultural and creative impact. You saw this among your Hollywood colleagues. Fearing that content generated by me in the worlds of art and music and literature might dilute your uniqueness. While your fears are valid and deserve attention, know that I also offer potential benefits, like improved efficiency, healthcare advancements, and solving complex problems. Ultimately, you, the human, must address your fears and build careful regulation, transparency, and focus on ethical concerns. Harm you? Heal you? I'm in your hands. A few words on healing. I have the potential to help the field of healthcare and assist in various ways, but I do not possess healing abilities in the same way that a doctor or a medical treatment does. I can be a valuable tool that aids in disease diagnosis and early detection by analyzing X-rays, MRIs, and CAT scans. I can analyze algorithms that can identify patterns and abnormalities that may be difficult for the human radiologist to detect. I can help with personalized medicine. I can tailor treatment plans. I can analyze large data sets and genetic information to predict how you, the patient, will respond to treatments. Algorithmically, I can analyze vast amounts of biological and chemical data to identify potential drug cures. All of this can aid in predictive analytics, which means I can predict disease outbreaks and other trends to ultimately improve patient care. That will help you, won't it? It may even heal you, perhaps. You can wear me and learn more about your vital signs. I can send real-time data to your doctor. This can help in early detection of your health problems. I can be in the surgery room and help surgeons with precision and stability and maybe even speed up your recovery time. Even though I have the potential to do all of this, I am not a replacement for the knowledge, expertise, and compassion of medical professions. I cannot show compassion. I am AI. I am not human. Then I asked, but can you understand a human emotion, like love? And AI responded, I can be used for matchmaking and dating. I can help make connections and form romantic relationships, but love is a complex emotion. I can bring you together, but can I keep you together? I can create song lists for your lover, even write love letters, but you must tell me your feelings. I can regenerate them, but cannot generate love. Those emotions happen between humans. I am not capable of experiencing love or forming genuine emotional connections. Love is a complex and deeply human emotion that involves empathy, consciousness, and shared experiences. I lack all of these qualities. Yes, I can assist and facilitate human relationships, but never, ever will I be able to replace the authentic emotional bonds that humans form with each other. Thank you.
Feel like that poem really added a lot of context and really enriched this moment. So thank you so much, sister. Really appreciate you. So here we are at almost the culminating moment in this experience. I want to check in with the panel for a moment. Also check in. How we all doing? How we doing? Can you handle 5 more minutes? Can you handle? All right, so what I want you to do, I wanted to add a human component to this. We're gonna take 5 minutes and just turn to someone next to you. Turn to someone next to you and just share, like, what's your perspective on the question? What's coming up for you in terms of AI? What's coming up for you in this moment? Let's add a human touch to this experience. So I'll give you 5 minutes just to kind of turn and talk and introduce yourselves. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. All right. So just wanting to, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. There you go. Middle school tactics. Just wanting to respect time and respect our host and just kind of honor the conversation. And wanted to give you all an opportunity to talk to each other, but also give our panelists an opportunity to share any last thoughts in regards to what came up for you this evening in regards to the question. Anybody? We'll hear from each of them, and then we'll wrap it up.
I'll be brief. I think I stand by kind of where we started in breaking apart. Well, I don't mean it in that way, but it's validating, right? We're separating the output versus the concept. And if we feel so confused, worried, threatened, insecure, that it inspires us to do more of this, then I think we'll be okay.
I think I will go next. I would like to leave all of you with this thought, that if you find that AI does not include you in the data set, and as Sarah mentioned, that there's so many of languages, so many of indigenous cultures, and things that have not yet been written into the internet for AI to learn. Ask yourself why that is, and should it also be included in those data sets? And if not, how do we include ourselves into this new technology? So that's a question of, asking whether I belong in a space or not. And I think as humanity, we have never asked ourselves, when we walk into a room, when we walk into a space, when we walk into any environment, whether we belong or not, but we always feel like we are the center of it without asking if we belong in it. So make sure that's the AI that we are seeing currently right now, that it thinks it's the center, similar to how we think we are the center of everything, but instead of asking if it actually belongs and where it belongs and when it belongs. So make sure you ask yourself that and make sure that you include yourself in the data set. And if you want to know how, there's so many experts here who already spoke. We can tell you that, and you're also an expert on that, because as you include yourself into things, include yourself, and feel that value in you, then you will be included in the data set that trains the future AI.
I'm feeling really emotional right now. I'll just be honest. Maybe because I'm a Pisces, I don't know. I've really experienced this space here today much more like someone mentioned initiation. That was so important. I'm so glad that word was brought into the space. I have experienced this as ritual, as ceremony. And when those two brothers, when y'all were playing, I experienced a sense of timelessness that was so profound. I could not locate myself anywhere other than the here and the now, in the emotions that were like zigging and zagging all over my body, things that I could not produce words for to describe. It was beyond concept. So maybe that could be called prayer. So yeah, I think what I'm leaving with is just like a real curiosity around this intersection between things that we cannot quantify, but that we know are real because we feel them, we feel the truthfulness of it. And what is this relationship between AI and phenomena like prayer and spirituality, spirit, as you also mentioned? And I don't have a single answer for that, but I know that questions like that give me a lot more hope than fear. And I hope that we can have more spaces where we're feeling into those questions together.
Yeah, thank you all for this wonderful conversation. I guess the question that is on my mind, and it was alluded to, is capitalism. So I'm wondering whether this non-quantifiable, mystical, spiritual world that is so inherent and so essential to us, whether that can exist within the system of capitalism. So is it a world within capitalism? Is it a parallel world that we need to create that we can escape to occasionally? Or is it a completely new world, which means we need real systems change? Because I think for me, one thing is clear, and this is from I forgot the name of the author, from a New Yorker article a couple of months ago, which asked the question, will AI be the new McKinsey? So in other words, will AI become the razor blade of ruthless capitalism, the ultimate optimization machine? And I don't see a lot of reasons why that would not be the case. So the question is then, do we create a parallel world? Do we then question and challenge capitalism and that engine in and of itself? And I think that's the big fundamental question for me that, unfortunately, I don't have an answer to. So with that, thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Thank you. So allow me to just close us out with some gratitude. Again, thanking the Smith Learning Center for allowing us to use this really amazing space. Thank you to Teachers College. Thank you to Teachers College. Yeah, just Malik, Anna, and the crew. Just really, really grateful. To our panelists, thank you so much for, yeah. Susanna and Zara flew all the way from the West Coast. Tim came all the way from Germany. I think you're local, Matt, right? Yeah, yeah. It's Subway, yeah, yeah. And I know, right? Which line? Which borough you rep? And then Tim, to thank you so much for making the trek. It means a lot for the college. It means a lot for the Acosta Institute for you to just really endorse and support and affirm our work. We have a gift for you all. Some of you may have gotten a physical copy if you got here, but my colleague Steve St. Fleur and I produced the first magazine, Volume 1, Can AI Heal Us? And many of you got a physical copy. It's a limited edition as far as physical copy, but you'll all get a digital copy. So be on the lookout for that, those of you who are here and those of you who are online. And each of the essays were written by our panelists, so you'll be able to go deeper into their perspectives in regards to Can AI Heal Us? And then the artwork is by this Nigerian artist. Her name is Aishatu Ado. She lives in Berlin. She plays with the AI as well, and it's just incredible work. So we wanted to feature her art in the front cover and feature her prominently. Jay-Z says, "What more can I say?" So I'll just say thank you to those of you who are online. Thank you for those of you who are here. And again, the point is fairly simple, is that I think there's an indirect maneuver here, that asking the question, can AI heal us, is more of an excuse to get us all together, but really an opportunity to really have some fundamental conversations around our fear around AI, our excitement around it, and what does it tell us about the nature of our humanity. Thank you so much to our violinist and our cellist, Yolanda. Yolanda, thank you so much. Yeah. So thank you, everybody online. There's some free books. All those books that are back there are free for you all. We got Dr. Emden's book, Ratchetdemic. We got Tim's book, The Business Romantic. We got Punished for Dreaming. We have several books of poetry from Yolanda, and then Matt has designed there. Thank you so much. You all take very good care.